Thinking back to this entire process, when I finally got our culture right, we had our values crystal clear, what behaviors we wanted, then we would hire folks, we'd onboard them, but unfortunately we were doing them a disservice, and us, because there was a misalignment. The missing component was we didn't screen for values. That's really our fault. It's not their fault that we hadn't, we would screen them to make sure they had the skills for the job. We should have also looked deeper to make sure that they connected and were aligned with the behaviors of our values. In a lot of cases, what we'd do is we'd hire them on, they'd have the skills for the job. They were an accountant, they knew how to put together a profit and loss. And then we would essentially onboard them and sell them on our values. We would sell them on our values, and that was wrong. So it was time to make a change and start to screen for values before hiring the individual. And it really is our responsibility, whether you're in HR, the team leader, whoever it is, it's our responsibility to add to the team in a way that's going to benefit the team and the company. And so if you're hiring the wrong people, if you're not screening for culture, you are doing disservice to the team, and it's not fair to the individual. They're looking for their home, and really our jobs are to try to help them find the home, hoping it's this place. If it's not, that's okay. So when I think back to when we started to screen for our values, for us, one of the key things in our values, especially in our sub-language, was empathy, understanding, other people's situations. And interesting enough, for our customers in my past business in the private security industry, the key thing for them, for us to be successful, was excellent customer service. So these things actually tied together. We had empathy listed in our values, as well as a key metric was great customer service. And for great customer service, you would have to be empathetic. You'd have to really be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. So we knew right then we had to start screening for empathy. If you weren't empathetic, it would be a waste of time to bring you onto our team because it was so critical, not just for our culture, but for our customer. The difficult part about attribute screening, so say you've landed on empathy, is like, how are you going to screen for empathy? There's nothing off the shelf for that. It takes a lot of time. This is something we do today, a lot of testing. But essentially, in a nutshell, what we do is, one, we want to ask people if they have the attribute. Then we want to look at a situation in their past or multiple situations where they've displayed that attribute. And then we want to add hypothetical situations where they will display that attribute. And maybe those hypotheticals are things that have already happened in our company where we know what that result, the right result, has been. And through that process, we essentially can get some understanding if someone has the attribute. From there, what we'll do is, once we think we have the question right, and we develop these questions before the interview, of course, we'll test those questions. And I'm gonna go back to this A, B, C player. We'll test those questions on our C players because essentially, in a lot of cases, they won't answer the questions correctly. And then we test them on our A players. And we try to ensure that they answer them correctly because they already have that value. And that essentially is how we screen for attributes. Before you actually put any content out there, one last thing to do is put that content in front of people that you think are an A player, people that you can't live without, and make sure that content gets them excited, speaks to them. Would they apply for that job? Check that box before you go to market. One thing that's been incredibly helpful when it comes to your A players for our business and our clients is getting to know those A players. Really get to know them and ask questions. Why did they apply here? And what do they love about the company? And why do they continue to be employed? Those messages are going to be key to your go-to-market strategy. And that is key messaging that you want to know specifically. The other questions are, what do they do? Where do they hang out? Do they golf a lot? Do they go to the gym? Where are they in the community and where are they online? Because that's where your ads need to live. You need more of those people. And lastly, when it comes to A players, most A players that you can't live without also love your business and they love your leadership. They love being on your team. Have them be ambassadors for your company, whether that's a wallet-sized recruitment card, whether they are reposting the ad on their social media. Have them help you recruit. They will typically bring on more people like them. For companies that will really win with their strategy, won't just leave this with HR. They'll also incorporate their A players as part of their strategic initiatives to get new people on board with their business. One thing that could be extremely helpful is to take your team and do a company persona exercise. So the company persona exercise, which is helpful to some, it really looks at things from each stakeholder's perspective. So typically that's, the owner or leader's perspective, the team's perspective, and maybe the customer's perspective. And what are the winning behaviors that we see from each of these perspectives? And we really draw those out and we can use that material. Don't forget, it's extremely important you're selling to the candidate and what's in it for them. If your messaging doesn't have that, it's time to go back to the drawing board.